The sun was still blazing over California when my phone buzzed with a message that stopped my world cold. "Why is Emily announcing your divorce on social media?" my brother wrote. I was drenched in sweat, reeking of diesel, and bone-tired after a grueling 12-hour patrol. But those words hit harder than any desert heat. I tapped the screen with a grimy finger, squinting against the glare. And there it was, a public post on Emily's page, polished like a lifestyle blog. Sometimes you have to let go of the past to find your true self. After much reflection, James and I are peacefully separating. I found someone who truly sees me. #new beginnings. Below it, a photo. My porch in Oceanside, the flag I'd mounted, the wind chimes my niece made for us. Emily was leaning into some guy, smiling like he was her forever, holding our dog, Max. He was wearing my old academy shirt, black with a small tear on the shoulder. She used to sleep in it. Now he did. I stared at the screen for maybe 3 seconds, then closed the phone and sat on the edge of my bunk. My squad was already peeling off their gear, some half asleep, others chugging water like it was the last drop on Earth. We just rolled back to base, a sprawling military outpost in the California desert, after a day that felt like it chewed us up and spat us out. One guy had passed out in the truck. Another was cursing the sand in his boots. You don't describe that kind of tired. It's the kind where your body moves on autopilot, boots dragging until someone yells, "Stand down." I was 2 minutes from crashing face first into my bunk when that message came. My brother, stateside, never reached out unless it was life or death. This wasn't death, but it felt close. I didn't throw the phone, didn't yell, didn't even blink. I just typed one word back to him. Understood. And that was it. Something inside me shifted, like a gear locking into place. The part of me that still believed in vows, in second chances, in confronting things like a man, that part died right there under the desert sun. Most guys would have called her, demanded answers, or at least cursed into the void. I didn't. Reacting gives them power, and I wasn't about to give Emily a shred of that. Instead, I remembered. A month before I deployed, I sat across from Captain Edwards, my JAG officer, in a cramped office that smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. It was a routine briefing over chow, the kind you half listen to while mentally checking your gear. "If there's anything unresolved with your estate or marital contracts, now's the time to fix it," he said, pushing a stack of forms across the table. It was standard boilerplate, but something nagged at me. Emily had been off lately, distant, distracted, skipping my deployment ceremony with some excuse about work being insane. There was a hesitation in her voice when I asked her to update our joint account beneficiaries. A flicker of something I couldn't pin down. I was too exhausted to dig deeper, stretched thin between prepping my team and keeping things steady at home. So, instead of pushing her, I handled it quietly. I asked Edwards if we could tweak the prenup. Nothing flashy, just a couple of clauses to cover my bases. One for fraud, another for cohabitation. Airtight, enforceable, buried in the fine print of a routine document update. Emily signed it without reading past the first page, thinking it was about healthcare proxies or benefit rollovers. We even laughed about how much she hated legalese, her pen scratching over the paper as she sipped her morning smoothie. "I trust you," she said, barely glancing up. I remembered that moment now, sitting on the concrete slab outside the barracks, flies buzzing, the taste of dust in my mouth. That signature was my insurance policy, and she didn't even know it. While Emily posted filtered photos with her new guy and hashtags about healing, I pulled up Caitlin Wilson's number. You wouldn't know her unless you'd crossed paths with someone who could dismantle a life with a few keystrokes. Caitlin was a federal asset recovery specialist, the kind of lawyer who worked for high-level contractors but took on cases like mine for kicks. Calm, efficient, and cold in a way that made you feel she could end someone's world without raising her voice. I'd found her through a buddy who handled black budget accounts, and when I asked what made her different, she'd said, "I don't send threats. I send losses. I sent her the link to Emily's post. No preamble, no backstory, just the raw evidence. 5 minutes later, she replied, "Do you want to bury her financially or legally?" I typed back, "Both." Then I went to my bunk and slept for 13 hours straight, the last full night of sleep I'd get for a while. Because from that moment, the mission wasn't just sand and orders anymore. It was her, and it was going to be surgical. I didn't call Emily, didn't fire off an angry text or leave a voicemail she'd ignore. Silence was my weapon, sharper than any words I could have thrown. That morning in the California desert, with the bass humming around me, Humvees rolling out, radios crackling, I sat in the comms tent and opened a secure line to Caitlin Wilson. Her reply to my last message still burned in my mind. "Do you want to bury her financially or legally?" My answer hadn't changed. I sent her a single line. "Start the ledger." That was all she needed. Caitlin wasn't just a lawyer. She was a predator in a blazer, the kind who could smell weakness through a spreadsheet. By noon, she'd already created a digital folder labeled Case Econers, with subcategories: misuse of funds, unauthorized occupancy, asset liquidation, social media evidence. Every move Emily made was about to become a data point in her own undoing. I remembered the day we signed the prenup, 3 years ago, at our kitchen table in Oceanside. Emily was scrolling through her phone, half listening as I slid the papers across. "Just military stuff," I said, keeping it light. "Benefits, power of attorney, the usual." She barely glanced at them, signing with a quick flourish while complaining about the espresso machine smelling like motor oil. My buddy, Captain Edwards, notarized it right there, his pen scratching like a countdown. Buried in those pages were 2 clauses I'd insisted on. One for financial fraud, another for cohabitation with a non-family member during deployment. They were written in dense legalese, invisible unless you knew where to look. Emily didn't look. She trusted me, or maybe she just didn't care. That was her first mistake. Back on base, I pulled up Emily's social media again. Not because I wanted to feel the knife twist, but because Caitlin needed evidence. The post was still there, racking up likes and heart emojis from people who didn't know me or our life. Below it, comments. "You deserve this glow, girl. And so happy for your fresh start." I scrolled further. She'd added a story. A boomerang of her and this guy, Derek, clinking wine glasses on my porch. He was wearing my old aviator sunglasses, the ones I got after my first tour, prescription lenses and all. The caption read, "Finally free. #soulmate vibes." I screenshotted it and sent it to Caitlin. Her response was instant. "This is gold. Keep them coming." I didn't need to dig much. Emily was doing the work for me, posting her betrayal in real time. 3 days later, my brother sent another message, this time with a screenshot that made my jaw clench. Our joint checking account, the one for groceries, the mortgage, Max's vet bills, was zeroed out. 40 grand, gone. The transfer memo read, "Emily, reimbursement." Reimbursement for what? For me being halfway across the world, doing my job while she played house with Derek. I stared at the numbers, the sand in my eyes blurring the screen, and forwarded it to Caitlin. She didn't call or write back with words, just uploaded the screenshot to the folder labeled financial misappropriation. Then she filed a Form 4415 with the Department of Defense's Pay Audit Division, flagging the transfer as an improper civilian expenditure of protected military funds. That form, by the way, triggers an automatic review, bank accounts freeze, secondary cards get locked, and every financial institution tied to the account gets a polite but firm letter. Emily didn't know it yet, but her world was already starting to crack. Then came the message from a neighbor, Sarah, who'd been keeping an eye on the house. "Hey, James, didn't want to bother you, but some guy's tearing apart your workshop." Attached was a photo. Derek, in my sunglasses, standing in a pile of cedar shavings and rusted tools. My grandfather's lathe, a bench vise from the 60s, shelves of brass screws I'd sorted by hand, all gone. In the background, the burn barrel was smoking. Emily had let him torch my history, the pieces of my family I'd carried forward. I didn't reply to Sarah. I sent the photo to Caitlin with a note. "He's destroying my property." Her reply was one word. Noted. That evening, Caitlin added a new tab to the folder. Asset destruction. Every post, every transaction, every photo was another nail. Emily thought she was building a new life. She was building a case against herself. I leaned back in the tent, the hum of generators outside mixing with the static in my head. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger clouds judgment, and I needed clarity. Emily had made her move public and reckless, thinking I was too far away to notice. But distance wasn't weakness, it was leverage. Back in Oceanside, she was posting about healing and new beginnings, oblivious to the fact that every click was evidence. Caitlin's folder was growing, a digital arsenal of Emily's own words and actions. The prenup she'd signed without reading? That was Exhibit A. The house quietly moved into a family trust before I deployed. Exhibit B. Her posts, with their smug captions and filtered smiles. Exhibit C. I didn't need to confront her. She was digging her own grave, and I was just handing her the shovel. Emily thought she was untouchable, posting her new life for the world to see while I was sweating it out in the desert. Her latest update was a gut punch. A boomerang of her and Derek popping champagne on a balcony overlooking a Hawaiian beach. The caption read, "Sometimes the universe gives you what you deserve. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag real love." I didn't flinch. I screenshotted it and sent it to Caitlin. Her reply was immediate. "She's using your card. This is federal." That's when I knew Emily wasn't just breaking my heart. She was breaking the law. Back on base. The days blurred into a haze of patrols and briefings, but my focus was razor sharp. Caitlin's digital folder was growing thicker by the hour. She'd flagged Emily's Hawaiian getaway, flights, oceanfront resort, spa treatments, even a private dinner with a violinist, as charges on a card tied to my military benefits. Title 10 of the U.S. Code protects those funds during deployment. They're non-transferable without my sign-off. Emily didn't have it. Every massage Derek got, every cocktail she sipped, was a violation, meticulously cataloged in Caitlin's folder under federal violation. Preliminary evidence. I didn't need to call Emily out. She was building my case with every post. Then came another blow. My neighbor, Tom, sent a grainy photo from his backyard. Derek, still in my sunglasses, hauling my grandfather's tool chest into a pickup. The workshop I'd built in Oceanside, filled with heirlooms. A lathe from the 60s, hand-sorted screws, a vise my dad gave me, was being gutted. Smoke curled from the burn barrel in the background. Tom's message was short. "This guy's trashing your stuff, man." I forwarded it to Caitlin with 2 words. Asset destruction. She didn't respond with platitudes. Just a new tab in the folder, property misappropriation. I could almost hear her typing, each keystroke a nail in Emily's coffin. I remembered a moment from 6 months ago before I deployed. Emily and I were at the kitchen counter, her scrolling through yoga retreat ads while I sorted deployment papers. I'd asked her to sign an updated estate plan, calling it routine military stuff. She'd rolled her eyes, signed without reading, and gone back to her phone. That document wasn't just a formality. It was a family trust, transferring our house to my parents and my goddaughter, a 14-year-old who loved building birdhouses with me. Emily's name wasn't on it. She'd never noticed, too busy planning her healing journey. Now that trust was my shield, and her ignorance was my sword. Emily's posts kept coming, each one bolder. A flat lay of 2 passports, sunscreen, and a book titled Healing the Feminine Soul. A selfie with Derek, her in a bikini, him wearing my old watch, a Seiko from my first tour. The caption, "Finally feel like myself again." Caitlin archived it all, cross-referencing timestamps with bank charges. When Emily posted a video joking about upgrading from tools to treasure, Caitlin labeled it Exhibit C, social media admissions. I didn't need to confront her. Every click was a confession, every hashtag a step deeper into the trap. A week later, my brother sent another screenshot. Our savings account drained again. Another $10,000 gone, labeled Emily Relocation Fund. Relocation to where? A beach resort? I sent it to Caitlin, who flagged it as another violation of military fund protections. She filed a second form with the DOD, this one triggering a fraud alert to Emily's bank. The next day, Sarah texted, "Emily's freaking out. Her card got declined at a restaurant." I didn't smile, but I felt something settle inside me. The system was moving, slow and relentless, like a tank rolling over sand. I sat in the mess hall, picking at a cold MRE, when Caitlin called on the secure line. "She's escalating," she said, her voice calm as ever. "Just listed your Ford F-150 on Craigslist for $10,000. Cash only. Your deployment sticker's still on the windshield." I exhaled, steadying myself. "What's next?" I asked. Caitlin's reply was like a blade. "We let her keep digging. The deeper she goes, the stronger our case." I nodded, though she couldn't see it. Emily thought she was writing her redemption story. She didn't know she was scripting her own downfall. Emily's world was crumbling, but she didn't see it yet. She was still posting selfies from Hawaii, oblivious to the net tightening around her. Caitlin's message came through at 0200, sharp and clinical. "Her accounts are frozen. Agents are en route." I was in a supply tent, the desert night humming with distant generators. When I read it, my chest didn't tighten, my hands didn't shake. I just nodded, like I was confirming a patrol route. Emily thought she was scripting a rom-com. She didn't know she'd walked into a courtroom. Caitlin had been relentless. Every transaction Emily made, $2,000 for a spa package, $800 for a private dinner, $5,000 for flights, was flagged as misuse of my military benefits card. Title 10 protections don't bend. Those funds were untouchable without my consent. Caitlin's folder now had a new tab, Federal Audit Triggers. She'd filed multiple forms with the Department of Defense, each one a tripwire. The bank had locked Emily's access after the second fraud alert, and her latest post, a sunset shot with Derek, captioned "Living My Truth," was timestamped just before her card declined at a beachfront bar. Caitlin sent me the restaurant's charge attempt. Declined. Insufficient funds. I didn't smile, but I felt the scales tipping. Back in Oceanside, the house I'd built was no longer hers. Before I deployed, I'd sat with Captain Edwards in a county clerk's office, transferring the title to a family trust. My parents and my goddaughter as beneficiaries. Emily never noticed. She was too busy booking retreats. That trust made her a tenant, not an owner, and her living with Derek violated the cohabitation clause she'd signed. Caitlin had drafted a discovery packet, citing the prenups clause 17B, financial fraud, and 19C, unauthorized occupancy. When Emily posted a video of Derek painting my garage, captioned "New Vibes, New Life," Caitlin added it to Exhibit C, cohabitation evidence. Every move Emily made was another thread in the noose. Then the agents arrived. Sarah, my neighbor, texted me a blurry photo at 0914, timestamped by her Nest Cam. Two black sedans pulled up to my house like they were delivering bad news. Derek answered the door, shirtless, holding a protein bar, looking like he'd just rolled out of bed. An agent flashed a badge. Department of Defense. "We need to speak with Ms. Connors." Emily's voice screeched from upstairs. "Who's in my house?" The agent's reply was calm, cutting. "Ma'am, this isn't your house. Please come down." Sarah's next message was short. "She's losing it." I forwarded it to Caitlin. Her response, "Perfect. They're documenting everything." The agents didn't yell or threaten. They walked through the house, tablets in hand, pulling up footage from neighbors' cameras. Derek hauling my tools, walking Max, grabbing the mail in my old towel. 38 days of him living there, painting my walls, sleeping in my bed. Visiting? One agent asked, raising an eyebrow. Derek stammered, yeah, just helping out. The agent played a clip of him carrying luggage inside. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Emily stormed downstairs, clutching her phone like a lifeline. I have power of attorney. This is my house, she snapped. The lead agent, an older guy with glasses, handed her a manila envelope. You'll want to read this, he said. Inside was the prenup, notarized and stamped, alongside the trust documents. Her name wasn't on them. Her face froze, the fight draining out of her like air from a punctured tire. Caitlin called me that night. They served her the notice, she said. Unauthorized occupancy, asset misappropriation, federal fraud inquiry. She's got 72 hours to vacate. I was eating cold protein paste in the mess hall, staring at a chessboard where a corporal thought he had me cornered. What's she doing? I asked. Caitlin's voice was flat. Panicking. She called a friend, thinks it's a scam. She'll learn. I moved my bishop, checkmating the corporal. Her move, I said, and hung up. Emily had called me earlier, her voice shrill, the same tone she used when she thought she could talk her way out of anything. James, what the hell is this? You're trying to ruin me. I let her rant, waiting for her to breathe. Then I said, read what you signed. Click. No threats, no yelling. Just the truth, cold and final. Emily didn't stop digging. She posted a tearful selfie that night. Mascara smudged. Caption betrayed by the one who was supposed to love me. The comments weren't what she expected. Her cousin wrote, you were in Hawaii with another guy. Don't play victim. Another friend reposted her bikini shot with Derek, timestamped. Her follower count started to drop. Caitlin sent me a screenshot. Self-incriminating behavior. Admissible. Emily thought she was rallying support. She was just handing us more evidence. Emily's final post was a desperate cry for sympathy, but the internet wasn't buying it. Ambushed by the one who swore to love me, she wrote, tear-streaked in a dimly lit selfie. Comments tore her apart. You were in Hawaii with another guy. Own it. Her account went dark hours later, but the damage was done. I was back in Oceanside, standing in Caitlin's office, when she slid a single document across her desk. Initial here, she said. This ends it. I signed, and for the first time in months I exhaled. Emily had lost everything. Not because I wanted her pain, but because she'd chosen her path. Caitlin had played her hand perfectly. The Department of Defense had frozen Emily's accounts after her Hawaiian spree, flagging every charge as misuse of my protected military funds. The house, locked in a family trust for my parents and goddaughter, was never hers to claim. When she tried to sell my Ford F-150, Caitlin filed an emergency petition for asset misappropriation, citing the prenup's fraud clause. The Craigslist ad $10,000, cash only with my deployment sticker still on the windshield, was now Exhibit D in her growing file. Emily's posts, from champagne toasts to healing captions, were Exhibit C, time-stamped and admissible. The trust documents, signed before I deployed, were Exhibit B. The prenup she'd skimmed over? Exhibit A. Caitlin didn't just build a case. She built a fortress. The eviction notice hit like a freight train. A courier taped it to the front door, right beside the wreath Emily hung after her reset. She tore it down, thinking it was a bluff, but the words final notice, vacate within 72 hours, weren't negotiable. Neighbors saw her pacing the porch, phone shaking in her hand, calling a college friend who sold insurance. Not law. They're saying it's not my house, she ranted. According to Sarah's text, her friend called Caitlin's office, panicked, begging for clarity. Caitlin's response was ice. Advise your client to retain counsel and stop talking on open lines. Click. Derek was gone by then, slinking off in a beat-up Corolla with a duffel bag. not even glancing back as Emily screamed after him. The house looked hollow without her stage decor. Fake orchids and curated coffee table books gone, leaving only my walls, my history. I offered Emily one last out. Caitlin drafted a settlement. She could keep her clothes, her new apartment's contents, and whatever dignity she had left. In return, I'd halt the federal fraud inquiry, waive restitution, and let her fade quietly. It was mercy, plain and simple. She read it, hands trembling, then tore it to shreds. Caitlin had warned me, she'll either take it or escalate. When the pieces hit the floor, Caitlin filed the final claim, Title 18, U.S. Code Section 641, Federal Benefit Fraud. That meant up to 5 years of consequences and a permanent loss of spousal benefits, including Social Security derivatives. Emily wasn't just losing money. She was losing her future. She moved to a beige one-bedroom in Oceanside, vinyl floors and fake granite counters, the kind of place where silence feels heavy. Her influencer career collapsed. Brands ghosted her. Partnerships paused. Her Shopify store flagged for using my last name. The IRS knocked next. A Tuesday morning audit notice for unreported marital income. Every TikTok post, every affiliate link she'd slapped under her resilience journey was joint property until our divorce finalized. I hadn't signed the waivers, and I wouldn't. Caitlin made sure every missed tax filing, every late payment, piled on penalties. Emily's story about silent strength vanished 6 minutes after posting. Her DMs turned toxic, followers dwindled, and a blog post titled From Beach to Broke, a lifestyle lie, went viral. She was alone, shouting into a void that didn't care. I drove to the house that evening, Max bounding to greet me like I'd never left. The workshop was a mess. Empty shelves, charred tools, but I found one thing untouched. A photo of me and Emily, early days, tucked behind a toolbox. I didn't keep it. I didn't burn it either. I just set it aside and started cleaning. Caitlin's final message came as I swept the floor. Case closed. You're free. I looked out at the porch, the flag still standing, the chimes my niece made swaying in the breeze. Emily thought she'd rewritten our story. She didn't know I'd been holding the pen all along.